Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of the Timist Podcast Series. My name is James, and I am the Timist and the host of the thing you're currently listening to. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by someone who lives at the unique intersection of heritage and innovation within the world of watches and jewelry. She's a fifth-generation jeweler, a designer, a certified gemologist, and the current president and CEO of Benbridge Jeweler. It's Lisa Bridge. Join us for a special on-location interview at Timeworks as Lisa and I dive into the world of watches, discussing everything from how travel and various cultures have left an imprint on her to how she decides which brands and projects to align with, like the recent Oris Benbridge limited edition Aquis release. We also take a step back to learn a bit more about Lisa herself, and how sometimes life's twists and turns reframes what we believe to be our true calling. Like changing careers from being an educator to leading a company with over 113 years of established history. Not only that, but we also discuss why Benbridge in the last 5 years has shifted towards fewer physical locations throughout the US, and the recent decision of certain watch brands such as Rolex opting for a solo brand offering. Specifically, we explore both the challenges and opportunities that this represents for the watch industry. All this and so much more. So sit back, relax, grab a drink and a snack as we get started. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time.
Delighted.
Before we dive into it too deeply, where are we exactly?
Well, we are in our Timeworks store at University Village.
Okay.
A beautiful space, and really it's been a community hub, which has been really exciting to see that develop. Our manager here, Judy, does such a beautiful job of connecting people who are passionate to beautiful watches and to each other. And it's really a space with great energy, and delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much. I can attest, Judy is amazing. We've done quite a few events here, and the energy and the vibe is always 10 out of 10, would recommend.
Wonderful. That's what we like to hear.
Again, because this is a watch podcast and video as well for folks that are watching, I have to ask, what watch are you wearing today?
Well, appropriately for where we are sitting, I am wearing an Omega Speedmaster, and I've just loved this watch and loved wearing it. And I knew that I was going to like it when I got it, but I have worn it so much more than I even expected. Just the coloration and how it styles and how it wears. It's really season, timeless per season, and it's been a great piece.
That's wonderful. It is a classic. I mean, Speedmaster. Enough said.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
A little while ago, not too long ago, there was an event here hosted by Benbridge in collaboration with Oris, I believe. VJ was here, CEO of the Americas from Orus, and you guys celebrated the launch of something quite special, the Oris Aquis Benbridge edition.
Yes.
Some questions for you. What motivated the collaboration itself, and can you share some of the process on how both teams worked together to sort of turn the vision that you both had, because it sounds like you both collaborated on it, into an actual end product, like the watch itself, or the watches, I should say, because there's two.
Exactly. Well, it's been a wonderful collaboration, and it takes a lot longer than I think you would anticipate at the onset, and thinking about the timeline for both the design and then the production to have it finally land on a wrist at the end. And at the beginning, it seems like it's forever. And so now it's very exciting that it is out in the world, and wanted to create something that felt really special, that felt very distinctively Benbridge and Orus. We've had a wonderful partnership with Orus and have a real sense of shared values between both companies in terms of our desired impact in sustainability, in connection, in the story behind each piece. And so it started as a spark of an idea with our partners with Oris, with our watch buyer, Joe Perez, and really went on this journey to create something beautiful. And what I really love about it is it has a distinctive purple dial, which not that many watches have, but is the Benbridge color. And I think is a really great color, but it's a purple mother of pearl dial. And so it has this kind of this subtle flash to it as you change, and it moves between the angles, which I think is really cool. And to have it in 2 different sizes. So people who have, tiny baby bird wrists like myself and people who have a more normal sized wrist can both wear the watch. And so delighted that it is out in the world and it's a super versatile watch.
It really is. Both of them are stunning, and I was so grateful to have the opportunity to get some hands-on a little earlier than most.
So you got the sneak peek on that one.
I did, and I absolutely loved it. The hue, the iridescence, the shade of mother of pearl is, in my opinion, underrated, and it's so wonderful in that depending on which one you go with, some are more poppy, more iridescent, more bright, and if that's you're covered. And if it's not, you can find one that's a little bit more demure, more subtle. And I think that was really, really wonderful.
Thank you. It's fun to have them that are just, they're all have their own different personality to each one.
Yeah.
And you get that from something that's natural, from that mother of pearl.
Right.
And so to be able to incorporate that's really, really fun.
I will say that the fact that you and Oris partner together is really fitting, given that they have like the Billion Oyster Project and they do a lot of, I would say, more uncommon, off the beaten path endeavors as far as like who they choose to collaborate with.
Yeah.
So to see Mother of Pearl and Benbridge in that signature purple come together, well done.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Well, I love that the impact that they're trying to make in sustainability is really part of who they are. It's part of the fabric of Orus, and it's genuine, it is thoughtful, it's not performative, and I think that really connects.
And it shines through, and it's evident. I mean, when something is truly at a foundational level, it's not a show that you put on or a light switch that you turn on and off. That's just who you are, and it very clearly translates in the product, so it's wonderful. Yeah. Let's move on to some more specific watch talk. Could you tell us a bit about the very first watch that you had, and do you still have it?
Yes. So the first watch that was ever mine was when we were on a cruise as a family. I think I was about 7 or so. And we went on a cruise to Alaska with a business group that my parents were a part of. And it was all people that we knew or were connected to on the cruise ship. And there were a bunch of other kids who were my age. And so my mom took the Swatch watch off her wrist and put it onto mine and said, okay, here's how, make sure I know how to tell time and come back at this time. And it was that first taste of freedom and was enabled by a watch. And so it was, it had, it looked kind of watermelon colored. It was like pink on one side and green on the other. And I do still have it. It looks very sad. It was very well used. And so that watch was the first one. Although I think it was followed shortly by a pink Minnie Mouse watch, which just reemerged because my daughter just finished pre-K and they had a letter of the week, and on Friday they had to bring in a show and tell item. And so appropriately, my daughter for W week wanted to bring in a watch. And so she came to me and said, "Mommy, can I take one of your watches?" And I said, "No, you may not take one of my watches to school with you." And then I went, "Wait a second, actually." And so dug back through and found the pink Minnie Mouse watch. And our wonderful watchmakers put a battery in it, and it started ticking and put it on her wrist. So that was an early watch that's now onto its second generation.
That's amazing. Yeah. In part, that's sort of why we do what we do, passing along the memories, the timepieces, and having them live on and continue to collect stories and generate memories.
100%.
That's amazing. Which of your watches holds the most sentimental value to you, and why?
The most is a hard thing to answer. Each one tells its own story and tells of its own moment. I got a special piece to celebrate the opening of our downtown Seattle flagship and our Rolex boutique in Honolulu. And and specifically selected that piece because it had a stone dial. It has a turquoise dial, and it connected me to my father and grandfather, who both wear stone dial watches. And so in that moment of celebration of a new chapter also connects me to our roots and where we've come from. And so that one holds a lot of meaning for me. It's beautiful, people notice it, but it's particularly meaningful because of who it represents.
And that's the core of it, isn't it? Like being able to attach these memories, these reasons that are very personal and our very own is sort of what makes, I think, beyond the hype or the environment that watches inherently sort of generate, being able to say, this one is mine and special for these reasons. That's very cool.
It is. Well, it should be personal and it should mark a moment. I always intended on engraving the back of it, but once it was on my wrist, I never took it off to actually engrave it.
I'm also seeing a pattern. I mean, mother of pearl, we can argue it's a stone dial, maybe not, but I'm seeing a pattern in you.
It's true.
You have a thing for stone.
I am also a nerdy gemologist, so that certainly rings true.
I love it. What attributes and complications are important to you in a watch?
I like things that are functional, that I'm going to use, whether it's for the intended purpose or otherwise. I remember early on my brother using his chronograph to prepare a cup of tea. And so that was maybe not the intended use of a chronograph, but whatever you need to time is okay. I love a GMT function. I do a lot of traveling, and so a watch that works really well for that I appreciate. And a simple date I really appreciate. I know that I can look on my phone, but I really prefer to check my watch for the date.
A little foreshadowing, because I was going to ask you a question, but I'm still going to ask you because it'll be fun, but we'll see.
Okay.
In your work, it's sort of a given that you have to go all over the world. Is there a city whose local style or culture has inspired you in any way?
Every place that we travel to has something really special, and feel very privileged to get to the opportunity to travel. Business travel isn't as glamorous as sometimes we'd like to think it is, but feel very fortunate that I've been able to see where things come from. And at Benbridge, we really like to go to the source. We want to know who is crafting each piece, how is it, the care that it is crafted with, and so to be there to see that is really an incredible privilege, and I feel very thankful for that. And a number of places have captured my heart. I mean, there's Italy, certainly. There's few places better than Italy if you talk about culture or food or beauty or art that just really captures you. There's a sense of how to live in a different way, that you kind of breathe more easily, that you stroll a little bit slower. I think maybe those are things that I could use more of in my life. And so that certainly captures my heart and imagination. But there are also really wonderful places that we've been able to go, not necessarily in the watch world, but on the jewelry side, like Botswana was a place to see the natural diamond story and where diamonds come from and the intrinsic good that they do in the country and for the people of Botswana. It's stunningly beautiful, the natural environment. The people are warm and gracious and certainly captured my heart.
That's incredible. I can only imagine that as you're there, seeing, breathing, eating, tasting, and sort of walking through that part of the world, it just kind of leaves an imprint, whether you want it or not. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about curating watch brands. How do you approach curating and bringing new watch brands within the Benbridge family? Like, what criteria sort of resonates with you, and what would indicate in a way, yes, we should totally engage with this brand?
Well, we represent quite an array of brands and some really wonderful partners that we've had. Many have had a very long relationship, multi-generational relationship with, and it's wonderful when you can journey for that long and journey in a similar path, that the businesses, the philosophies all line up to continue to partner well. And so as we curate the assortment, looking for the right the right mix, the right brands that connect with each community. We really believe in being a part of each community. That's something that is a deep thread throughout Benbridge. And when we are in each market, that we want to be reflective of that community, and that's our team, that is the impact that we're able to make, and to have the right assortment within the store. And so finding what isn't represented in a market, what's going to connect, and then bringing something new in is exciting. Doesn't happen quite as often since we have a wonderful stable of brands. But when we do, finding that perfect niche that hasn't been filled. If it is a design aesthetic, it is a technical addition, it is a customer that we haven't taken care of, trying to find that right balance amongst the group.
Yeah, I can very clearly see that through line, especially with Oris. Are there any new brands we can expect in the near future without, spoiling any surprises?
Well, we're always looking. We're always looking and have many debates over, is there something that's worth its additive? We don't want something that's going to cannibalize something else, but is going to bring something different. So we're very excited that we just introduced Nomos here in this store, the first time at Benbridge. And it's been a couple years of looking at it and thinking about, how does it fit? What does it represent? Nomos wasn't in the Seattle market recently, and so there was an opportunity there. But you could really feel this year at Watches and Wonders the energy within their booth and the different colors that they represented, and the world timer that's just incredible, and the value that it represents. And it just felt like it was filling a niche that we didn't have previously, and it's been gratifying to see people finding it and excited about it and coming in to see it.
Good on you. Yes, the world timer, I got an opportunity to play with it a little bit last time I visited.
Wonderful.
And it feels and looks so good. And to be able to have Nomos in the Pacific Northwest, a physical location where folks can actually show up and get hands-on, is kind of unheard of. You would have to be like, am I traveling anywhere in Europe, in an airport, in Germany somewhere, for me to be able to see something hands-on? Because, as you know, we live in a digital age. Ordering something online is as easy as 1, 2, 3, it's done. But if it isn't quite right, especially with the longer lugs on a Nomos timepiece, then you have to deal with all of that and the fallout of all that.
It's just much more fun to do in person.
Agreed.
Right? Love convenience. I need a lot of convenience in my life, being, in business and having a family and all of that. But it's way more fun to put something on your wrist and to feel it and to look at it and say, does this fit? Is it what I thought it was? Is it what I love? And to make that decision, to get an education, to have a surprise. Maybe you thought this is what you wanted, and actually over here is something that's much better. And you get that in store.
100%. Couldn't agree more. And everyone here is so educated and so well versed in all things, all brands, that, most of us watch nerds will equip ourselves with all the details and all the YouTube videos and all the press releases beforehand. But it's so nice to kind of get together with your people, your culture, your tribe in a way.
Absolutely.
And go, I'm so excited to see this. I've read all about the world timer. Can you please show it to me? And then they do, and then they, go back and forth, and there's this community of sorts that gets formed. And sometimes you'll learn things that you didn't even know.
100%.
So Benbridge Jeweler is a 5th generation family-run business under your leadership. As CEO, how do you balance respecting over the 110 plus years of established heritage while also looking towards the future? You have these two things. You have the future, and then you have this heritage thing. And to some respect, it kind of, there's a dichotomy there a little bit, but how do you manage that?
Both are really important, and I think need to be embraced similarly, that the heritage gives us this foundation. And I think the reason we've been around for 113 years is because we know really deeply who we are. We know what our values are, and those things don't change. Everything else has to, or wouldn't have been around for this long. And so I think that part of the secret is those 5 generations, that each generation has turned the business over relatively early on in their career to that next generation, because we have to continue to evolve. And so as we're looking at where we go, we're shaped by those values. We stay true to those values, but what the stores look like, the exact merchandise that we have, how the brand expresses itself, all of those things continue to evolve and change. And it is grounded in the understanding of who we are, but it's looking to the future. I heard somebody say, which I think I've held to, is having a small rear view mirror and a big windshield. You need both of those, but in the right proportions.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And as I'm listening to you describe, 5 generations and then turnover being early on, and this is all my headcanon, you tell me if I'm right or wrong, but it feels as though it's handed over to the next generation early on so that they can shape, craft, and mold what the next 20 to 30 years could look like, given that current snapshot in time. You can't stagnate, you can't stand still, but you also can't, move too quickly. So that's fascinating. Yeah. That's interesting.
It is. Well, it has to keep moving. And I think about when we were going to move our downtown Seattle, our flagship store. We had been in the same building since it was built. We had been there for 94 years and wanted to expand, wanted to create a true flagship. And it was at a time, it was 2020, where we said, let's look around. Is this the best place to plant our flag for the next 100 years? And we found a better location right at 5th and Pine, beautiful tall ceilings and an impressive space. And so, called my dad, called my uncle, called my grandpa and said, how do you feel about this? Is this okay? Is this blasphemy to be moving? And every one of them said, go for it. We're with you. It sounds exciting. Totally makes sense. And so I feel really thankful to have that foundation to still call them for perspective and also for them to be there to cheer us on in a new chapter.
That's so special and wonderful. Sometimes we have ideas, we have visions, we have this concept. Every now and then it's so nice to be like, am I off here? Am I crazy?
Am I crazy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does this make
I ask
sense?
that more often than maybe I should. I'm like, I've got an idea.
Hear me out.
Exactly.
But also
got a great team.
Yeah. Feel free to stop me.
100%.
I love
100%.
it.
You have to be able to spitball and throw things out there and occasionally try things. And some might succeed, some might not. But it's worth that journey. There are certain meetings that I think of where we launched had two different introductions to the company and where each took us. And some have grown into major parts of the business and others took us down another path. And that's okay.
I mean, the word failure has a stigma, but it's literally experience.
That's right.
As someone that comes with a gaming background, it's what I do for a living. XP is invaluable. That's how you grow. That's how you get stronger. That's how you gain wisdom and knowledge and know what not to do. I like to give the example of the Cheesecake Factory. And if you've ever looked at their menu, it literally includes everything under the sun.
It is a very long menu.
It's
overwhelming.
Overwhelming. And sometimes it is equally as important to figure out what you don't like or want in order to narrow down what you do like or want.
Absolutely.
And that's just experience. So that's wonderful that you have these pillars that you can lean on to go, so, I have this idea.
Exactly. Does it align?
Yeah.
Should we try it?
Perfect. Perfect. Wonderful. You initially pursued a career in education, but then plans changed. Specifically when you decided to continue the family business. And somewhere in there, you also became a certified gemologist and a designer and so many other things. A mom. So life has been busy.
It's true. Don't like to let a lot of grass grow under my feet.
No. And that is, I think, what keeps us energized, tired at the end of the day, but it keeps us going.
Absolutely.
How do you sort of exercise and combine all of these layers, all of this experience, all of these achievements that you've accomplished into sort of your day-to-day role?
Well, there was a few years ago, I was speaking to students at GIA, the Gemological Institute of America, And we were talking about a career, and I think careers are very rarely linear, that we grow up thinking that you do A, then you do B, then you do C. And really the reality is you take a side step here and then you move there and then you jump this split. And because of that, your background really combines to create something meaningful. And so I grew up and had both of these things. Do I want to join the family business? Do I want to be a teacher? And decided, no, I want to be a teacher. And so I went down that path and studied elementary education in college, got my teaching certificate, and was going down that journey. And a number of things brought me back to the business. A big one of which was being president of my sorority. Ironically enough, that I learned more from that experience about integrity and delegation and follow through and management than I ever could have in any business school class. And I found it interesting and challenging. And I had more fun working in the store that holiday season than I ever had before. And I went, okay, so now what if I want to come into business? I've now taken 0 business school classes. Like, am I able to make this choice? And when I finally made that decision and I knew I wanted to come into the business, I had such clarity that it was the right thing. And I was joking that I said, I'm tossing my degree out the window. And one of our longtime associates, Jennifer Wilcox, very prophetically said to me, you don't know how now, but your background will set you up perfectly for something. And she was absolutely right, because, go a few steps into my career, I ended up taking over our training and education for the company, and helped to share our values, helped to provide skills to our team and knowledge and opportunities. And because I had that background in education, I was better equipped to do that. And because I did that, I knew our team much better. I understood what makes a difference in our business. And so each of those pieces maybe weren't the things that would have been on a linear path, but actually gave me the skills that I needed to get to where I wanted to be.
That's so wonderful. Isn't life just so strange and weird? How twists and turns abound, and we adapt. I had a similar experience where I went from one discipline to another, and we're talking like 5-year jumps. And every time it was scary. But one of my mentors said, everything you've built and all the knowledge and skills that you've learned, you don't lose those when you jump. It's on your tool belt. You right. have those things. And you can tap into them when need be, and you'll be surprised how one day you'll be like, I know how to do that. Yes. Like you said, we tend to think that if I do these 5 steps in this order, I will arrive at this destination. But rarely does that ever happen.
Absolutely.
And it's okay. So for anyone that's watching or listening, that's totally fine. So let's get into it a little bit deeper. At the end of 2019, there were 95 Benbridge locations. And that number now sits at 34. That reads as though you're shifting intentionally on focusing and emphasizing on a more personalized approach and a boutique style experience. What can we expect to see more of in the next, let's say, 12 to 24 months from Benbridge?
Well, it really is looking at growth in a different way. That we had 95 stores, today we have 34, and we're doing just as much business out of 34 as we were out of 95. And it's really thinking about how do we make each location as important as it can be. And so growth just looks different. Growth isn't necessarily measured by increased store count, though we're very happy to open new stores where it makes sense. Last week we opened a Grand Seiko boutique in Ala Moana, and so thrilled to have that newest addition to the family. And so we'll continue to look for those right places, but it's really investing in our locations, in key places, making them larger, looking for the opportunities to bring something new in, certainly the impact in the community and how can we enrich that? How do we continue to up-level what it is that we're doing? The amount of focus and care that we can put on each of the stores is that much greater today than it was before. That change happened both by closing stores, selling some stores. We were the largest franchisee globally of Pandora, sold those stores to Pandora Corporate, and allowed us to really focus our attention on our business rather than having a kind of divided focus, that we can really laser focus on evolving the Benbridge experience, the Benbridge brand, and where we're going.
It's doing, I don't want to say less, but it's doing less better, and therefore hyper serving like the local community better.
That's right. That's what it's all about, right? Very few people are going to meet a bridge or buy from me, and they don't need to, because we have wonderful associates across our stores that they're going to have probably better service from them than they ever would have from me. And if we have wonderful people that we invest in and we train and develop and empower, then we're able to grow in a different way.
So in the past 6 months, we've seen some interesting decisions from the likes of Rolex. They seem to be stepping away from sort of the partnered authorized dealer setup and focusing more on a mono brand layout in a way. We're also seeing a rise in single brand boutiques as of late. I'm curious, in your opinion, what opportunities does this present for Benbridge and other, let's say, traditional retailers?
Well, as we've been talking about, we look at each market and what's right for each place. And so here at University Village, we have a Benbridge store that is all jewelry, and our Timework store that's all watches. And so it's a little bit of a different experience and different mix than we have in other locations, but it's right for U Village. And similarly, we've opened a number of branded boutiques where it's been the right opportunity. We've had a Breitling boutique in Houston for many years now. That has been a great part of the experience that we're able to offer in Houston. We have a Rolex boutique in Ala Moana. We now have a Grand Seiko boutique. And on Kalakaua in Hawaii, we also have Grand Seiko and Tudor. And in downtown Portland, we have Omega. I think that's our group of mono brand boutiques at the moment. But in each of those locations, it was right for that customer and that brand expression. One of the things that I've really enjoyed about these boutiques is that it can be this full expression of who that brand is and that full experience. And so I think that these things work in concert together for each right location and community. I think it's very valuable to have a multi-brand environment where you get exposed to lots of things, where we can take care of you for a lifetime. It's our vision to have customers for life and to be somebody's personal jeweler. And to do that, we have to offer a lot of different things. And so the multi-brand environment allows for that connection, allows for moving for different occasions to different brands. And it just depends on what location is quite right and what the full story of that marketplace is telling.
So being active and receptive to the local community and adjusting accordingly seems to be part of your core foundation.
Absolutely. You know, my great uncle Herb had a plaque on his desk that read, "Service is the rent we pay for the space we occupy on earth." And it's so important that we are giving back to the communities philanthropically, with our time, with our energy, with our name, and also reflecting the community within the store environment itself.
That's such a wonderful plaque and such a wonderful sort of ethos to carry. That's cool.
Thank you.
Okay, are you ready to be a little silly?
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Rapid fire questions. You don't have to think about it too much. Just whatever you feel. Okay, here we go. Do you prefer a date complication or no date?
Well, as I mentioned before, date. I like a date.
Yeah, I saw that coming. I wanted to ask it anyway.
It drives me crazy when the date's wrong.
Oh, you do set it?
I do set it, yes.
Okay. Because I do hear people that are like, I like a date complication, but sometimes I forget to set it. Then I'm like, but why? but why?
Exactly.
What is your grail piece?
Okay, I don't believe in one grail piece. I feel like that...
I'm with you.
Yeah, because if you have the grail piece and you get it, then like you're done.
Yeah.
So I have lots of pieces that I want, and that you dream of. There was the piece 2 watches and wonders ago, the Cartier Reflections. That is this bangle. It is beefy and dimensional, and it is a statement piece. And I was like, oh, I mean, that one's I've dreamt of, but I would feel very sad if I got that watch and then I was like, oh, check, I'm done. Now you have to have, one in each.
And I hate saying it, but it's so true. It is a journey. And just because you get that one thing that you really wanted doesn't mean that you're done forever.
No, it really captures a moment.
Yeah.
Right? And so in this moment, here's something that reflects who I am and this achievement in this moment. And in the next moment, there's going to be something that reflects that period.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100% on board.
Excellent.
Does the watch determine the outfit or does the outfit determine the watch?
I think what you're projecting determines both. And so my mom had a friend who is a high-powered lawyer in town, and she used to open her closet and say, who do I want to be today? And I think that's the ethos that I take to it, is like, what is that overall story? What am I projecting into the world? What do I need to feel? Because I feel a lot when I choose what my jewelry is. It's who I'm carrying, it's a moment that I want to feel, it's a look, all of those pieces combine to create it.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to take that.
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see. As far as watch materials go, steel or precious metal?
Okay, again, it depends on the moment and where you are. And, I'm really hard on my jewelry and my watches. And so it just depends on what I'm doing and where I'm going.
So you stack?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I can't do it. I can't do it. Sometimes my wife wants to do it and I'm like, yeah, no, it looks great. Oh, they're touching. They're touching. Which, again, to each their own.
That's right.
I just can't. For me.
I mean, I stack other things more than I stack on my watch.
Yeah.
But I would, hypothetically.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me.
You want it pristine.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
That's okay. That's okay. We all have our visions for what it should look like.
Thank you. Okay. Here's a scenario. You're traveling for work internationally.
Okay.
You're gone for 3 weeks. What watch are you taking with you?
Well, I need something that's going to be super versatile, that will go with a lot of things and be a part of it. So I'd probably wear my Tudor GMT because it is durable. It has that GMT functionality for travel, which is great. It's going to go with a lot of things. The water resistance is key because then it's game to go and be a part of all of the adventures that trip might entail.
I love that. I got this app and I'm tracking the watches that I'm wearing. And the
Very
Tudor.
interesting. Any surprises?
Yes. Yeah. The Tudor Black Bay 58 925 silver case.
Amazing.
It's just such a ridiculously cool watch.
It's very cool.
They woke up one day and they're like, is this crazy? But let's make a watch out of a silver case. Let's do it. The screw down crown. And again, I'm very careful with my watches, but I do like the idea that it is tough. That is a standout piece. Like by and large, the pie chart, when I'm looking at the graph, the Tudor 925 has taken so much of my wrist time. It's ridiculous. So I hear you on that. And I do love a GMT function.
Yeah.
I mean, the 925 doesn't have one, but I get it.
Both things are true.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I kind of already know the answer to this, but keep it pristine or the scratches tell a story.
Absolute story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you earn each of those scratches. And I believe very strongly that watches and jewelry are meant to be worn and enjoyed. It hurts me so much when people leave things in a safe or a vault, or it's meant to be a part of your life, and it becomes more valuable over time as it does. And inherently there's going to be scratches. I just had a much overdue overhaul done on the watch that my grandparents gave me for graduation. And I actually had to laugh when I got the estimate back of all of the description of this is chipped and that has damage and this is worn off and this is dry and this, and I laughed. I was like, yep, it's lived a lot of life. And now it's back to being beautiful and pristine. Our watchmakers are wonderful, but it lived life.
I love that. And I think, as you were saying, it's sad when things live in people's safes. Like, to each their own. Everybody does however they want. But I'm of the mindset that if I'm going to spend so much money on something, I'm going to get my mileage out of it. I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a point where the value that you paid for that item sort of gets transcended by the memories and the experiences that you live with that piece on. And now it's special for a different reason.
Yes.
It's no longer special because it's this thing that you fell in love with and it's so pretty and it costs a lot of money and you save for it and then you got it and it was wonderful. It's now all those things plus, and then we went on that vacation or, that celebratory experience and I wore that piece and now that is an additional memory tied to it.
Absolutely.
Okay, here we go. It's going to get weird.
Okay.
Somehow you've acquired a magical timepiece that allows you to visit your past self. When would you meet your younger self, and what advice would you give that younger version of you?
I mean, little Lisa was a happy kid. I feel very thankful for that. I'd probably go back to high school and just tell myself to just calm down. Like, it's all gonna be okay. It's really not worth being this stressed out about where you're gonna go to college and what you're gonna do and where that, it's all going to work out okay, and to trust in that. And I think if I had done that, it would have relieved a lot of stress and I would have enjoyed that journey more. Just calm and take the ride. Exactly.
Well, fascinating thought exercise that I've had was, if this did actually happen, do you think that version of Lisa would believe this version of Lisa? You know what I mean? There's people in our lives and they provide wisdom and knowledge and they advise us. Yeah. But you know, as well as I do, and everyone that's watching and listening, how often do we instantly go to, yeah, no, I hear you. I totally hear you. I get it. But you don't understand. Yep. Right? Until we actually walk that path and experience it on our own beings, it's just words. Yep. And I wonder even if like older version of ourselves, if they came back right now and they're like, listen, this, that, and the other, would we actually listen, or would we be like, interesting?
Well, I also think in some ways you have to go through all the things that we went through, or I'd be a different person, right? You have to learn those lessons along the way, for better or worse, and experience that to get to who you are. It might save some heartache, but maybe you need that heartache.
Right. You don't know. We don't know. And more often than not, when you hear people go or be asked, would you change anything? Frequently you hear no. Yeah. I would leave it exactly as it happened, because that shaped, molded, crafted who I am today.
That's right.
Sometimes the pain, sometimes the wonder, sometimes the magic, sometimes the sadness, but we're on a journey.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm curious about Watches and Wonders. How is that? Like, how's Watches and Wonders? Like, it's got to be nuts. It's got to be crazy busy, right?
It is a very, very busy week.
Yeah.
We go back to back. Sometimes Joe gives us a lunch, which is appreciated.
So Joe leads the charge?
Joe plans, exactly.
Okay.
And Angela and I are there to help. So Joe is our watch buyer. Obviously, you know this team, but others might not. And Angela's our head of merchandise. And so it's the three of us there. Occasionally, my husband, Gilad, joins us because he has become a watch fanatic. I always joke that I've now created a monster.
What have you done?
Exactly. He didn't own a watch before we got married. And then to see his joy in that first watch, I was like, oh, okay, this is something new. So it is the 3 or 4 of us there, and we are back to back in appointments to see beautiful new product, what is out there, to talk business and strategy and how we move forward. But it's always inspiring to see the innovations that have been, most of them have been worked on for years before they come to fruition. It's not a short process to create a new piece, whether it is a new design or a new movement or a piece of a new movement, a new complication. And so it's inspiring to see that amount of focus and dedication and the pride that each feels in introducing that to the world.
Yeah, and I think it might be a little bit of a different sort of atmosphere and vibe as well, because it is Switzerland, because it is in the heart of sort of watchmaking. And I don't know, like, you wake up in the morning and go, oh, I'm in Switzerland for Watches and Wonders. An experience I hope to do one day, but that's awesome.
It's worth doing. And it really does. It takes over the whole city. And I think you're right that there's something different about being in Switzerland, where it's such a big part of the culture and the understanding, that here it's more it's much smaller if you're into watches or it's a part of somebody's world, but to see it in Geneva and see the whole city talking about watches, whether you're at the expo or on the street, has a wonderful energy.
It's got to be exhausting though, right? Like you're running and gunning constantly. You're going from appointment to appointment. You're taking in all the new watches, the new unveilings, and then you got to eat sometime, right?
Hopefully, yes.
Hopefully, you got to rest. And then, how long is it usually? Do you guys show up on location early, or is it during the actual because there's press and brands, and then you have the public-facing days. How long is this whole endeavor usually?
Well, we usually exit before the public-facing days, but we're there for a few days. This year we went a day early to go see our wonderful millwork partner who's helped us build a number of our stores. Nice. And so they were celebrating a big anniversary, so went and saw pieces. There was one of our new stores was in the works for our Victoria Gardens store in Southern California. So we went and kind of rubbed all of the wood, give it some good energy so we'll see it on the other side. Got to see our shipping container, which I had never seen that before. So that was kind of fun. And so we had an extra day there, and then we were at the show 3 or 4 days. And so pack it in to see everybody and get things done. And yes, it goes from early morning till very late night, and hopefully get some sleep in between and do it again. I'm actually, none of us, Joe, Angela, or myself, none of us are coffee drinkers. I'm a big tea drinker, but when you're in Europe, you have to have coffee. And when you're going that long and you're upside down in timing, like you just drink, you get the caffeine where you can get the caffeine. So every day we took turns trying something different. It's like, okay, today we're gonna try a cappuccino. Today we're gonna try a latte. No, none of them. No. We will drink what we need to drink, but it is not the preferred choice. I might be a Seattleite, but not a coffee drinker.
I completely forgot that is a thing that we're known for. Coffee. That's hilarious. Lisa, you've done it. We've reached the end, and as a thank you, I'd like to offer you the opportunity to talk about something that you feel passionate about. This could be something that you just want to shine a light on, from a movie that you watch that you can't stop thinking about, or a book that you highly recommend to a nonprofit, or any sort of local endeavor or project that you feel passionate about. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, our history at Benbridge, my great-great-grandfather was a watchmaker. And so when you go back to the very beginning, it was all about craft. And it was all about, really, we think about our values, about professionalism. That Sam Silverman had followed the railroad west, maintaining pocket watches for train conductors to make sure the trains moved on time. And he had to be that consummate professional. And we're really proud that we continue to carry on that craft through our watchmakers. But we don't have enough people coming into that craft, because I don't think people know that that's a viable career path. And so I would encourage anybody who knows somebody in high school or knows somebody older who's looking for something that, and their brain works in that way, right? Our watchmakers' brains work differently. They're tinkerers. The way that they think and they act and the precision. And so you have to find that right person, but helping people who have that inclination to find their way to watchmaking. And whether that is going to school at North Seattle, we're very lucky to have really the only independent watchmaking school in the country that certifies watchmakers at that level. Or we're really proud that we now have our own in-house technician program to train and develop watchmakers in-house. That I would encourage people to share that message with others, bring more people into this craft. We love that we are able to offer beautiful watches, but we also believe that we have to be around to take care of them. And we need the best hands to be able to do that. And so I appreciate any referrals or encouragement that you can find out there for future watchmakers.
Wonderful. Come one, come all.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is a beautiful idea and concept that, it doesn't end with the transaction. It is a lifelong journey, and in order for something to stand the test of time, no pun intended, it requires maintenance, service, love, and care. Right. And the only way to do that is with professionals that are dedicated to the craft, which can only exist if they knock on the door and say, "Hi, I'd love to be a part of this.
That's exactly right.
Lisa, thank you so much for your time. If folks wanted to get a hold of you or talk some more about any of the topics that we surfaced today, how can they get a hold of you?
Come visit a Benbridge store. Come visit us at benbridge.com. We'd love to have you a part of our extended family and connect you with somebody wonderful.
Perfect. Lisa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute joy to spend this morning with you, and I really appreciate it. I know you're a very busy person, so thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That concludes this episode of the Timist Podcast Series. A sincere thank you for hanging out with us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, then please push all the buttons that will help you hear more of us in the future. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can drop a comment in the associated YouTube video or reach out to me on Instagram at TheTimistIG. Thanks for listening. I'm The Timist. Be well, and I'll catch you in the next one.